You're 23 years old teaching high school calculus in Manhattan. You're making $17,000 a year. You don't have a college degree. You're nobody. Then one of your students' fathers offers you a job at Bear Stearns, one of the most prestigious investment banks in the world. You have zero qualifications, zero experience, zero connections except this one parent. You get the job anyway. This is your first lesson. The rules are different when you know the right people. 4 years later, they fire you. Poor performance. Rule violations. But you've learned what you needed to learn. Not about finance. About access. You're 28. A billionaire named Les Wexner just hired you. He owns Victoria's Secret, The Limited, Bath and Body Works. He's worth billions. He doesn't just hire you as an advisor, he gives you complete control of his money. Power of attorney over his entire fortune. You can sign his checks, buy his properties, make decisions about hundreds of millions of dollars. Nobody in finance can explain this. You have no track record, no credentials, no references. You were just fired from your last job. Yet within 2 years, you're managing a billionaire's entire life. His money, his properties, his foundation. People whisper, what does he actually do for Wexner? Nobody asks too loudly. Because asking questions about billionaires is how you stop getting invited to important rooms. You've discovered something. Wealth doesn't need to be explained. It explains itself. You're 35. You just bought the largest private mansion in Manhattan. 21,000 square feet. $13 million. Later worth $77 million. You also own mansions in Palm Beach, New Mexico, Paris. A private island in the Caribbean. Multiple aircraft. You're living like you manage billions, but financial investigators can't find clients who actually pay you. Just Wexner. Just mysterious wealth that appears with no clear source. But you're photographed with Nobel Prize winners now. You donate to Harvard, to MIT, you attend TED conferences, you host scientists at your properties. Credibility isn't about truth, it's about association. You're meeting with a physicist. Brilliant. Multiple PhDs. He needs funding. You offer millions for his research. You host him at your island. You introduce him to other donors. He's not thinking about where your money came from. Because he needs that money. His brain solves the problem simply. Someone funding important science can't be completely bad. This is cognitive dissonance. When reality contradicts belief, the mind changes one to match the other. He believes he's a good judge of character. But you're funding his work. Those two facts can't coexist if you're dangerous. So his brain decides you must be legitimate. You're at dinner with academics, scientists, royalty. You're charming. You ask intelligent questions. You reference quantum mechanics. You seem genuinely curious. Everyone leaves thinking, he's eccentric but brilliant. Nobody leaves thinking, I should check his background. Why? Authority bias. You're in a room with Nobel laureates, so you must belong. You're friends with Harvard professors, so you must be vetted. You fly with princes, so you must be safe. Each borrowed credential creates another layer of protection. You're in the late 1990s. You're flying powerful people on your private jet. Scientists, lawyers, politicians, academics. Some notice things that bother them. Young girls. Too young. The dynamics feel wrong, but they're trapped now. They've already accepted your flights. They've already been photographed with you. They've already taken your donations. Speaking up now means admitting they missed red flags. It means their judgment was wrong. The mind protects its past decisions by justifying continued silence. It's easier to think I'm probably overreacting than I enabled something terrible. You're meeting with a famous lawyer, one of the best legal minds in the country. He sees the warning signs. He takes your case anyway. Why? Compartmentalization. He tells himself, everyone deserves legal representation. I'm not defending actions, I'm defending rights. My job is law, not morality. His brain builds walls. What he knows lives in one box. What he does lives in another. The boxes never communicate. This is how brilliant people participate in horror. They separate knowledge from action. You're in 2005. Accusations are made. Horkin. Parents call police. Evidence is collected. But you have something more powerful than innocence. You have expensive lawyers. They don't prove you didn't do it. They make prosecution exhausting. They file motions, create delays, challenge every procedure, make phone calls to important people. The detective investigating you faces pressure from above. Your attorneys are connected. They know people. The prosecutor has 50 other cases. Limited budget, political considerations. Your case becomes complicated. resource-intensive, politically risky. The path of least resistance is a deal. You get 13 months in a work release program. You leave jail 6 days a week for work, for crimes that should have meant life in prison. This isn't corruption exactly. It's 1,000 small calculations about effort, resources, and political cost. Systems don't fail through evil, they fail through convenience. You're out. 2009. You're still wealthy, still connected, still hosting scientists at your island. Because here's the darkest part. Nobody wants to be the first person to call it out. A professor knows you're a convicted sex offender, but he sees other professors still meeting with you. Business leaders still taking your calls, lawyers still representing you. He thinks, if all these smart people still associate with him, maybe I'm overreacting. Social proof overrides individual judgment. Everyone waits for everyone else to act. In that waiting, you continue operating. You're meeting with a tech billionaire in 2011 after your conviction. He knows your record. Everyone knows. He takes the meeting anyway. He tells himself, this is just business. I'm not endorsing anything. Staying connected to influential people is pragmatic. His mind separates meeting with from enabling, even though they're the same action. The wealthiest people are often the most trapped. They've built entire identities on being connected, informed, ahead of trends. Admitting they misjudged you means admitting their judgment is flawed. Their ego can't afford that. So they continue contact, calling it sophistication, when it's actually complicity. You're in 2014. More accusations. More victims coming forward. More investigations opening. But also more people defending you. Writing character references. Vouching publicly. Some genuinely believe you're being targeted. Confirmation bias makes them remember the charming conversations. Forget the warning signs. Emphasize your donations. Minimize the accusations. They cherry-pick reality to match their belief. Others know better, but they defend you anyway. Why? In-group loyalty. You're part of their world, their network, their social circle. Abandoning you means admitting their entire community enabled harm. Easier to defend you than confront that. You're in 2015. A journalist publishes flight logs. Names of powerful people who flew on your plane. Some of them had no idea what was happening. They took a flight, that's all. But now they're publicly associated. They have two choices: admit I should have known, or defend nothing seemed wrong. Most choose the second, because admitting the first means admitting they're not as smart as they think. Ego protection becomes perpetual complicity. You're arrested in July 2019, flying back from Paris. Federal agents board your plane. Overwhelming evidence. Undeniable testimony. Dozens of victims. Federal charges. Finally. But even now, some people struggle to accept reality. They've invested decades in the version where you were eccentric but harmless, misunderstood, persecuted by a system that doesn't understand genius. Belief perseverance means even when confronted with facts, minds resist changing deeply held beliefs. It's psychologically painful to admit you were wrong about someone for 30 years. You're found dead in your cell. August 10th, 2019. Officially suicide. But your network survives. The people who enabled you, who looked away, who rationalized, they're still there. Still in power. Still using the same psychological mechanisms. And here's what's truly terrifying. None of them thought they were doing anything wrong. The scientist thought he was funding research. The lawyer thought he was defending constitutional rights. The businessman thought he was being non-judgmental and sophisticated. The prosecutor thought he was being pragmatic with limited resources. The wealthy associate thought he was staying connected and informed. Nobody sees themselves as the villain. Everyone had a rationalization, a justification, a mental wall between what they knew and what they did. This is how it happens. Not through conspiracy, through thousands of individual decisions to look away, rationalize, compartmentalize, wait for someone else to act. So why did this work for so long? Wealth creates an assumption of legitimacy. People don't investigate billionaires because money implies someone already did the vetting. Rich means safe. Rich means smart. Rich means trustworthy. None of that is actually true, but the brain makes that leap automatically. Association transfers credibility. You weren't smart because of your ideas. You weren't trustworthy because of your actions. You were trustworthy because you knew trustworthy people. Every photo with a Nobel Prize winner was another layer of borrowed legitimacy. Cognitive dissonance forced belief changes in everyone around you. People who accepted your money couldn't believe you were dangerous. Their brains wouldn't allow both facts to exist simultaneously. So they changed their perception of you to match their actions. They took the money, so you must be fine. Time-created sunk cost paralysis. The longer someone stayed silent, the harder it became to speak. Because speaking meant admitting years of looking away. Admitting that every previous day they could have acted but didn't. The psychological cost became too high. Compartmentalization let brilliant minds avoid obvious truths. They built walls inside their own thinking. What they knew about you lived in one mental room. What they did with you lived in another room. Those rooms had locked doors between them. Knowledge never connected to action. Overwhelmed systems chose convenience over justice. The prosecutor who made that deal wasn't evil. He was exhausted, underfunded, facing political pressure. Your case was one of hundreds. Taking the easy resolution wasn't corruption. It was human limitation in a broken system. Social proof paralyzed individual courage. Nobody wanted to be the first person to break ranks. Everyone looked around, saw everyone else still associating with you, and thought, maybe I'm wrong. Each person's inaction reinforced everyone else's inaction. A circle of collective paralysis. In-group loyalty protected members over truth. Your social circle couldn't abandon you without questioning their own judgment. If you were dangerous, what did that say about them? About their community? About their ability to recognize threat? Easier to defend you than face those questions. This is how one person operated for decades, not through genius, through psychology, not through masterful deception, through mechanisms people use every day to make sense of their world. And here's what should keep you awake at night. These same patterns are active right now, in other industries, other social circles, other institutions. Wealthy predators are using philanthropy as credibility camouflage. Authority figures are protected by borrowed credentials. Systems are optimizing for convenience instead of justice. Social circles are protecting their reputations over victim safety. The psychology that enabled him is enabling others, right now, today. You want to believe you'd be different, that you'd speak up, that you'd act when others stayed silent. But here's the truth. These mechanisms are designed to be invisible. They don't feel like complicity, they feel like being reasonable, professional, non-judgmental, sophisticated. The scientist felt like he was advancing human knowledge. The lawyer felt like he was protecting constitutional rights. The businessman felt like he was being open-minded. They all felt like they were doing the right thing while enabling the worst thing. That's the real horror. So what do you do with this information? Question wealth. Money doesn't equal legitimacy. It equals power. Those are completely different things. Rich people aren't automatically good people. They're just rich people. Don't borrow credibility from association. Someone photographed with smart people isn't necessarily smart. Someone flying with powerful people isn't necessarily safe. Proximity proves nothing except proximity. Watch your own rationalizations. When you feel yourself justifying something that bothers you, stop. That uncomfortable feeling is your brain detecting danger. Don't explain it away. Investigate it. Act when you first notice something wrong. Not when it becomes undeniable. Not when everyone else finally acts. When you first feel that ping of, this isn't right. Because that ping is usually correct, and waiting only makes action harder. Don't compartmentalize. If you know something feels wrong, don't separate that knowledge from your actions. Let what you know inform what you do. Break down those mental walls. Don't wait for systems to act. Systems are made of exhausted people with limited resources and competing priorities. Justice rarely comes from institutions choosing to be inconvenient. It comes from individuals willing to be inconvenient. Ignore social proof when your gut says otherwise. Just because everyone else is doing something doesn't make it right. Someone has to be first to break the pattern. Why not you? Value truth over comfort. Your social circle's comfort matters less than someone's safety. Your reputation matters less than someone's well-being. Being wrong about someone matters less than preventing harm. This isn't abstract psychology. This is happening now. There are people using these exact mechanisms. Wealthy, connected, protected by the same patterns that protected him. Either we learn to recognize these patterns or we enable the next one. The choice is yours. See the psychology.